Humans Are Galactic Cryptids by Sharkey and George. The clenched chitin fist smashed into the Duraplast table, leaving a not inconsiderable dent in the matte gray surface. Enough! The bureaucratic blathering and professional pondering of these so-called experts had blended into a putrid melange of maybes, perhaps, ifs, ands, or buts over the last 3 days of the Emergency Human Summit. It was incumbent upon Drivet to try and corral these single-minded fools, cloud-chasing clods, and effervescent egocentrics into something that might, in bad light, and from a distance, be called a think tank, and perhaps, just perhaps, get a plan of action hammered out. However, in the trio of dismal days so far, all that seemed to be happening were ideas for books, grant proposals, and media tours. He glowered compoundly at the shelled Dr. Vasitic, who was hunched in discussion with another scientist. He was half convinced that rather than the esteemed representative from the Tiberius School of Economics and Statistics he was supposed to be, he was in fact an agent of some sort. Not a spy. He could have actually respected that. He was a military man himself, but this was a completely open conference. No, that bastard was trying to secure clients for the media frenzy that would follow this convivium's conclusion. He glowered again, squinting the lids of all 6 eyes at the gastropod git. If he could prove it, someone was getting a cloacal enema via Drivet's far-right boot. Gentle beings. His segmented limbs weighed people down and back into various seats, niche, hammocks, and in one case, Spike. We are getting nowhere, and we're not even getting there fast. His roving eye, flailing spiked limbs, and frankly the poison that he had naturally slathered in, and its sweet scent that thickened in the air as he gesticulated, finally restored some order. I hate to remind you all, but the humans are here, now. He flicked a limb, and a well-worn series of images flashed on the wall behind him. He had shown these dozens of times throughout the conference, and still, for the life of him, could not understand why it didn't worry these intellectuals as it did him. Shot after shot showing the same thing, a ghostly apparition of 2 or more individuals, never more than 5, that watched citizens of dozens of different worlds, sometimes reaching out or seeming to talk. Frequently, they seemed to be doing a little on-the-spot dance as they watched a task being completed or a familial interaction. It's fascinating, of course. The voice belonged to a tiresome blowhard of an academic who had been heard far too much from in the last few days. But again, I don't really see the problem. They don't interact. Indeed, they seem to be deliberately inhabiting an adjacent but not connected dimension, specifically so they cannot interact with us. Drivet had no intention of announcing in an open forum that in fact he knew of at least 6 occasions where humans had solidified. One had been to heal the broken leg of a small child that had fallen far from his familial group, and 5 others where the small, slender humans had seemingly been unable to resist approaching someone and running their limbs through its fur, or straightening a tie. Instead, he let the professional pronouncements continue. Furthermore, there seem to be very strict rules they abide by, never entering their homes or private areas, never speaking. Wrong again. Drivet had heard the human coos from several interaction survivors. Who's a good boy, then? The memory made him shudder. What did it mean? Was it a threat or an omen? He tuned back in. Technology is so far beyond ours that it's something of a fait accompli. We're just going to have to live with it. A pregnant silence fell over the group at this, and Drivet came to his full height, all 12 limbs spread large, the large spines on his back pulsing, the mandibles of his jaws clenching, and the numerous citations and awards from bravery blaring on his thorax. Now, very easy for you to say, Professor. He lanced the rotund and Fluffy with a glare. fixing on his wide brown eyes. When they come to your world, they smile. Two limbs flicked out and indicated the rest of the group at large. They do little dances and gently follow you, chittering silently. But when they come to ours, he indicated the lone spike percher, who looked like a large bacterium, or perhaps a slime mold. We get looks of horror and disgust. They leave quickly and never return. How long before they decide the universe would be a nicer place without us and those like us in it? The silence came again, was fallow and deathly, and he watched the furtive glance of selfish men. I'm not sure if it's technically correct grammar or if it's just... I don't know. I really don't know if the grammar is correct here. He intended to vent his rage more, but was distracted by the frantic beckoning of a junior officer at the room's rear. When I return, I better hear more solutions and less platitudes. He quickly scuttled down the conference room and rushed to catch up with his junior, who had started to hurry aft at his approach. Situation: solar destabilization of a Denev 9, sir. They continued to rush forward, but Drivett's heart stopped suddenly. Denev 9 was a main colony world. His world, where his family were. His partner, the children. Oh, goddess, the children. Private prognosis? He stuttered. The junior officer halted outside the CIC doors. 95 to 98% loss, sir. And there just aren't enough ships for a full-scale evacuation. He opened the doors onto chaos. I'm sorry, sir, but you are in command. Drivett slammed his fear and horror down into the iron-bound chest of his will. Of course he was senior aboard, and much needed to be done. Even 2% was many millions they would need to support, rescue, and safe harbor. Panic threatened to set in, but he slammed that down too. People needed him now. His family would... Slam! No. Duty now, grief later. He strode inside and began to bark orders, sending underlings scuttling back and forth. He had begun to get a handle on it and started to order evacuation routing and supply movements when he felt, rather than heard, a hush fall over the frantic room. And looking up to the main viewer, he saw the reason. A ship was materializing slowly on the live stream from Deneve. It was truly massive, 1,000 clicks or longer, and it shined like a silver arrow as it insinuated its way into reality. The humans. They had done this. They were responsible for the imminent death of billions. With a tight clench of his chest, he wondered if this was simply the first. Would other colonies follow? Would the homeworld? He started to scream that every ship in the system should attack immediately, and railed that he sat impotently a galaxy away as these extra-dimensional bastards murdered his people for the crime of not being cute. When something very strange happened. A golden light sprang forth from the silver ship and encased the dying star. It moved like living metal and forced down coronal ejections, dispersing sunspots, and slowly seemed to reassemble it to the normal column appearance he had seen each time he strode from his home. The command center watched in silence as it then plunged the golden force deep into Deneve's interior and scooped out vast amounts of some unknown substance from the star's heart, as if drawing poison from a wound. Then, still clutching its stellar cargo, it faded once more into insubstantiation. The silence was total for several minutes, and then slowly and hushed, as if in a holy place, the ship's officers began to check readouts and collate data. Drivett sat clenched in shock, only slowly understanding that his family had been saved. He looked down at the screen on his command and reviewed the footage again. ship was incredible, seemingly made of flowing quicksilver and completely unmarred by any protuberance, but for one darkened spot. He zoomed in, and when that didn't help, he called up several other angles from in the system until he got a clear view. It appeared to be writing, though he obviously had no idea what it said. Still, he would thank the Bug Boys Arthropod Appreciation Club for the rest of his and his family's life.